It's Rivals National Signing Day coverage. We continue in ACC country with a very busy man, Dave Doeren, of course, the head coach of the NC State Wolfpack. Dave, heck of a class brought in so far, fringe top 25 group so far on Rivals.com. The best mark in 5 years. Not always about the numbers, but how do you feel about the group in general?
Yeah, really excited. It's a great group of young men, talented. We hit the mark on a lot of our top prospects that we wanted, and definitely met our needs and more. And we've got a lot of time invested in a lot of these guys, so know a lot about them, which is always helpful too. But it's a class we're very excited about. 18 of them will be here mid-year, which is also, for us with what we're losing, great to have them early.
Yeah, right before we started recording, you talked about how much all of this has changed in very short order. And man, it's easy to focus on the portal, NIL, and realignment. But really, I think just the timeline of when prospects are targeted and eventually arrive on campus has been so accelerated. So, how critical is that for you to have 18 guys coming in January?
Well, that's just the signees. The portal guys we're not talking about. There'll be a lot more than 18 here mid-year, but yeah, it's really important. If you plan on playing guys early, particularly, the high school grads, it helps them to be here, not just developmentally with your weight program, the conditioning, but, learning your offense, defense, special teams, the language, and then adjusting to the speed of the game, as you know, is a lot different at this level. And playing against 22-year-olds, a little different than 18-year-olds for them. So, the faster they can be indoctrinated into that, the better. And then, your culture of your program, it gives them a chance to learn it and be a part of it before they head into that first fall season. So very critical. And then the transfers, if you want them to play right away, which is why you're bringing older kids in, having them here early makes it much easier. Gives them a chance to really slow down the learning process, take the install, and not be in fall camp where it's really being force fed.
You mentioned addressing needs earlier. Look, we're simple humans, right? Let's expand and think quarterback first when we talk about critical positions that you need to really nowadays always address from a transition perspective. Big fan of the quarterback you signed, CJ Bailey out of
Yeah.
Chaminade Madonna. I don't know if there's a more experienced prep quarterback coming into the collegiate level in 2024, but really what helped you win, in my opinion, was early identification and staying on him before sort of the rest of the crew found out just how talented he might have been. So take me back to that early evaluation and when you felt comfortable enough to move in on such an intriguing, 6'6" dual threat quarterback.
Kurt Roper and Joker Phillips from my staff saw him practice and just really liked what they saw. We saw the film. We really believe in live evaluations, so the faster we can go see it in person to really verify, hey, what we saw in film is real. Came away not just talking about his ability, but how he is, his charisma. He's one of those guys that people gravitate to on the field, which is what you want at the quarterback position. You take all the measurables and all that out of it. He's a really good young man, and he was loyal throughout. There was a lot of schools that tried to come back in, and he and his family really stayed true to us, and that loyalty is meaningful, particularly when you're talking about your quarterback who's, the leader of your program outside of the head coach. So we're fired up to have him, and he's a winner. He's won a bunch of football games, and he knows what it means, to be elite.
Yeah, that rivals four-star prospect. Several state titles in a row. I think he's only lost 5 games going back to Little League and youth football. So, yeah, a winner, an understatement there. Maybe some future targets of his I want to dig into. One local, Jonathan Paylor, one of the best in the Carolinas and certainly beyond. And then down in Alabama, Ronnie Royal from the 251, fresh off of his own state championship,
Right.
joining the fold, and another who dealt with some other colleges trying to make some calls at the end.
Yeah, well, the receiving group, we got 5 in this class. Paylor's kind of Mr. Football. He can play running back, slot. He's a returner, does a lot with the football. Really talented and tough. Played the whole game both ways as a DB as well. Just love how competitive he is. Excellent track athlete as well. But we expect Jonathan to come in and help us and take some of the load off of KC, gives us another explosive slot. And then on the outside, getting Keenan Jackson here last minute adds on to, Terrell Anderson on those outside spots, Christian Zachary, and Tank Boston. So we really like this receiving class. We needed to add to that room with Coach Anai's system. We were shorthanded there and had some guys leave the program to go elsewhere. So we needed this class to be what it is. So very excited about that.
Yeah,
Ronnie Royal, sorry, just got stuck on the receivers there. But Ronnie, another guy we identified early. We think he's a perfect fit in our 3-3-5. He's a very versatile guy. Played a lot of positions on defense. Was a terrific running back and returner for them as well. Another state champion. Just finished playing in an all-star game. But we think Ronnie can play our nickel, our strong, or our free, all three of those spots in our 3-3-5. And he's a leader. He's one of those guys that can take charge, has no problem communicating, a hard worker. He's going to walk right in and be a guy that fits right in with what we do.
Yeah, Royal, Paler, Bailey, a lot of these signees have a ton of experience, as we mentioned earlier, guys that came across your desk as 8th or 9th graders and are a part of this sport. So how much do you weigh something like that? Just the sheer experience and volume of opportunity to see these guys, whether live or on tape, before you ultimately trust them with a scholarship?
Well, like I said, we do a lot. There's a lot of background that goes into recruiting. A lot of phone calls. You're calling coaches. You're calling people that know them. You're watching film. And then it's the in-person stuff that's the most meaningful to me. Whether we're talking about the live eval or the face-to-face meetings that we have where you get to know each other. And, we have a saying here, is he our kind of guy? And, the DNA of our players is he a guy that plays hard? Is he mentally tough? And is he a good teammate? Hard, tough together is what we call our identity here. And we recruit that. So we try to identify those traits by seeing them in person, how they practice, how they're coached, how they respond to coaching, how do they handle adversity. And once we find out that the guy's got all the intangibles and the film and the academic background, we go hard. We go really hard, try to get these guys and educate them on our team and our program, our culture, our university, our town. Great city of Raleigh, and we found some guys that are great fits. We have, and they believe the same thing. And that's the word I use common with these recruits is find the right fit for you. It's really important to have that. And there's so many third parties out there telling these kids where they should go. And my advice to them is always the same: you're the one that has to go there. You're the one that has to play there. Make sure it's the right fit for you.
Absolutely. The present looks good, fresh off of a 9-win season, and obviously the future looking pretty bright with a top 25 recruiting class. Dave Doeren, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the time. Go Pack.